Okay, welcome back, everyone. We are approaching a new threshold in our practice now. Having completed lesson 280, we move into a fresh phase of part two of the course.
And that begins with one of these crucial essays. They really do feel like necessary rest stops in the workbook's rhythm, don't they?
They do. Opportunities to sort of lift our heads from the daily work and remember the bigger picture.
And today we're addressing the seventh of these essays, focusing on the guide who makes the whole journey possible. What is the Holy Spirit? This presence is described as the essential bridge, between the world we think we see and the reality we're learning to remember.
We can think of this reading as a kind of necessary pause. We spent months working with forgiveness, facing our ideas about time, searching for that quiet space of peace and light.
hmm
And this essay points our attention squarely at the mechanism, the source, that orchestrates our ability to forgive and perceive differently. It's where the mechanics of healing actually reside.
It's quite significant that this essay appears now after so much effort has already gone into the lessons. It isn't introducing a new character, but it's recognizing the companion who's been quietly guiding our steps since the very beginning of the separation idea.
Ah, okay.
It offers us a definition not to test what we know, but more to remind us of the huge support that is already within us, already available.
So our focus today is kind of threefold.
hmm
First, reading the text itself, absorbing its specific language.
hmm
Second, exploring the Holy Spirit's function, how this presence operates in the, let's say, chaotic landscape of our everyday lives.
Right, the practical side.
And third, reflecting on what it means when the Course says this guide ultimately leads us to the end of learning itself. And we invite you, our listener, to examine your own experiences as we explore these quite challenging concepts. Okay, I'll begin reading paragraph 1 of What is the Holy Spirit? What is the Holy Spirit? The Holy Spirit mediates between illusions and the truth. Since he must bridge the gap between reality and dreams, perception leads to knowledge through the grace that God has given him, to be his gift to everyone who turns to him for truth. Across the bridge that he provides are dreams all carried to the truth, to be dispelled before the light of knowledge. There are sights and sounds forever laid aside, and where they were perceived before, forgiveness has made possible perception's tranquil end.
The goal the Holy Spirit's teaching sets is this end of dreams. For sights and sounds must be translated from the witnesses of fear to those of love. And when this is entirely accomplished, learning has achieved the only goal it has in truth. For learning, as the Holy Spirit guides it to the outcome he perceives for it, becomes the means to go beyond itself, to be replaced by the eternal truth.
If you but knew how much your Father yearns to have you recognize your sinlessness, you would not let his voice appeal in vain, nor turn away from his replacement for the fearful images and dreams you made. The Holy Spirit understands the means you made, by which you would attain what is forever unattainable. And if you offer them to him, he will employ the means you made for exile to restore your mind to where it truly is at home.
From knowledge where he has been placed by God, the Holy Spirit calls to you to let forgiveness rest upon your dreams and be restored to sanity and peace of mind. Without forgiveness, will your dreams remain to terrify you? And the memory of all your Father's love will not return to signify the end of dreams has come?
Accept your Father's gift. It is a call from love to love, that it be but itself. The Holy Spirit is his gift, by which the quietness of heaven is restored to God's beloved Son. Would you refuse to take the function of completing God, when all he wills is that you be complete?
So, reading that all together, the feeling that comes through most strongly is one of absolute gentleness and patience.
Yes, definitely.
The Holy Spirit is consistently shown as a bridge, a translator, never as some kind of moral authority or, a swift enforcer of divine law.
No, not at all.
His only purpose seems to be converting our fearful misperceptions into lessons of love.
That metaphor of the bridge is quite profound because it defines the function so clearly. A bridge doesn't make you leap from one side to the other. It gives you a continuous path.
A connection.
The Holy Spirit doesn't demand that we deny the dream or suddenly achieve some impossible state of enlightenment. Instead, he takes our current viewpoint, our experience of confusion, fear,
Oh, yeah,
irritation,
messy stuff.
all of it, yes, and slowly, gently reinterprets every single element. So it guides us back toward truth. The dream itself isn't an obstacle to avoid.
No.
It becomes the very classroom used for the correction.
And that distinction is so helpful for anyone who struggles with feeling, inadequate in their spiritual practice.
Oh, absolutely.
The line that really speaks volumes is, perception leads to knowledge through the grace that God has given him. That clarifies the dynamic. Perception is our experience here. It's dualistic, judgmental, based on interpretation.
Right. What we think we see.
And knowledge is non-dualistic, eternal truth. We can't perceive our way to knowledge directly. It's only through the grace that the Holy Spirit channels that our perception can be redeemed and used as a stepping stone.
So that means we don't have to sort of clean up our act first. We don't have to filter our confusion or pretend we're not irritated before turning to him.
Not at all. He uses the raw material, the confusion itself. That's the point.
It's like the Holy Spirit operates as this cosmic interpreter, taking our scrambled, ego-driven thoughts, the ones designed to prove separation, and translating them back into the single language of truth. So if a coworker sends an aggressive email, our immediate perception is attack, defense.
Standard reaction.
But when we offer that perception to the Holy Spirit, he doesn't change the email itself.
No, the outer form might stay the same.
He translates the underlying meaning of the interaction from a witness of fear to a witness of love, letting us see maybe that coworker is just calling for love, even if it looks like an attack.
And that translation is where the idea of the end of perception comes in. Remember the last line of the first paragraph. Forgiveness has made possible perception's tranquil end.
Yes. What does that tranquility really mean?
It's not saying we stop seeing or hearing things physically. It means we stop interpreting them through the ego's lens. Perception, as the Course defines it, is always interpretation. It's the mind deciding what something means based on past fear.
Okay. Assigning meaning.
When we forgive, we withdraw the meaning we assign to the world, recognizing it never meant anything truly fearful in the first place. The tranquil end is that moment. The ego's interpretive function just stops, and we simply rest in the truth of what is without adding layers.
That makes sense.
Right.
Let's turn to paragraph 3 then, which has one of the most challenging but also liberating ideas in the whole essay.
Which part are you thinking of?
The idea that the Holy Spirit will employ the means you made for exile to restore your mind to where it truly is at home.
Ah, yes. The means of exile.
If we're in exile, the means we made are these defensive structures we use to maintain that feeling of separation, right?
That's right. The means we made for exile are our grievances, our special loves, our special hates, our obsessive ambitions, our need for control, our constant comparing ourselves to others.
All those strategies.
All strategies designed to prove we are separate, unique, somehow better or worse than others. The ego created these mechanisms specifically to keep us feeling disconnected from the wholeness of God. And the relief in this line is huge, because it means we don't have to somehow smash those tools or feel overwhelmed with guilt about having built them in the first place.
So instead of destroying the tools of separation, the Holy Spirit repurposes them. How does that work?
Take the psychological tool of projection. We project guilt onto others to try and keep our own fragile sense of innocence intact.
We see the fault out there.
The Holy Spirit takes that projection, that outward search for blame or an answer, and repurposes it through forgiveness. It helps us withdraw the projection, see it maybe as a call for love in ourselves or the other person, and that restores the mind to its natural state of guiltlessness. It brings it home.
It's like the ultimate act of spiritual recycling.
It is. We made these elaborate, complicated machines for going far away, for maintaining exile, and the Holy Spirit just reverses the engine using the same complexity to bring us back.
So it proves that there's literally nothing we've done, no mistake or structure we've created that cannot be used for our awakening.
Absolutely. If our exile was built on striving for some unattainable goal, like the lesson says, perfect love, total control, whatever it is, The Holy Spirit takes that very energy of striving and redirects it
Or it's what?
towards recognizing the truth that's already here. He doesn't ask us to stop moving necessarily. He asks us to change the direction of our gaze, to look with him instead of at the problem through the ego's eyes.
That concept removes so much pressure. The pressure to attain immediate perfection or to somehow get rid of difficult feelings.
Mm-hmm.
We can feel deeply conflicted or jealous or judgmental. And instead of trying to spiritually mask those feelings, we just hand the means of conflict over.
Offer it up.
And he then uses the intensity of the conflict itself to show us where we're still believing in separation.
And that is the function of forgiveness as he uses it. Say we're caught in a pattern like constantly seeking validation from one specific person. That seeking is a means of exile.
Trying to get wholeness from outside.
Right. So we offer that need for validation to the Holy Spirit. Now, he doesn't magically make the person start praising us. That's not the point. Instead, he forgives the purpose we assign to that relationship, the purpose of achieving wholeness through external affirmation.
The purpose changes.
Forgiveness, in this context, is releasing that purpose. That allows the relationship to maybe become just a simple, harmless interaction, no longer burdened by the demands of exile.
You hear people say sometimes, I'm worried I'm not doing the course right, or I keep repeating the same mistake. That worry itself.
That worry is also a means of exile. It's the ego trying to create a spiritual taskmaster, managing the process of its own undoing.
Trying to control the uncontrollable.
The Holy Spirit takes that internal, self-critical voice and, through grace, lets us realize that the means we use to beat ourselves up can now become the very path towards self-acceptance.
That's genuinely liberating. It means there are no wrong turns, essentially.
Only, perhaps, delayed willingness to hand over the steering wheel.
Which leads us nicely into the third theme, the idea that the Holy Spirit's teaching sets the end of dreams as its goal, and that learning itself is eventually replaced by eternal truth.
It's a stunning paradox, isn't it? We learn in order to stop needing to learn.
Explain that a bit more.
The Course makes it clear that learning, in the spiritual sense, is a temporary function. It's needed only because we believe in separation. We learn to see that separation isn't real.
Okay.
Once that realization is fully achieved, when, as it says, sights and sounds must be translated from the witnesses of fear to those of love, and that process is entirely accomplished, then the usefulness of learning just ceases.
So we move from effortful study and intellectual grappling
to the spontaneous recognition of what we always were. It's less about figuring it out and more about remembering.
But what does that look like practically? A life where learning has achieved its goal and is replaced by truth. People sometimes fear that means their mind goes blank or they lose their personality.
It's not a shutdown of awareness or thought. It's the cessation of interpretation and judgment. It's realizing that everything seen, heard, or felt is already part of the seamless whole.
So it doesn't need analysis
Yeah.
or defense or condemnation.
None of that. The line, sights and sounds forever laid aside, is about laying aside their meaning as evidence for separation. It's about rest. When you rest, you're not dead. You're simply no longer striving.
Okay. Rest, not emptiness.
This often lands very quietly in everyday moments. I remember a particularly stressful time when I was helping a struggling startup company. The pace was just relentless. And one of the senior developers was incredibly terse, very demanding. Every message, every comment felt loaded with judgment and patience.
Oh, I know that feeling.
I found myself obsessively rereading every interaction, mentally preparing defenses, feeling physically sick with tension, convinced I was failing the team. That was my ego, highly skilled at interpretation, using sights and sounds, tone of voice, speed of reply, as witnesses for fear.
And the default ego reaction is strive harder, learn faster, or find a way to make that developer be nicer.
That's the striving for the unattainable goal right there.
Yeah.
But I took the whole situation, the knot in my stomach, the frantic interpretation, and I handed it over. Asked the Holy Spirit to translate the purpose of the interaction. I didn't ask for the developer to change. I asked for my interpretation of sight and sound to cease.
And what happened?
The result wasn't some magical improvement in their mood. It was a sudden, radical shift in my internal state. I just stopped scanning for danger, stopped interpreting their terseness as a personal attack.
You just saw it differently.
I simply saw someone who was probably overwhelmed in doing their best regardless of their delivery style. The tension didn't fade slowly, it just vanished. Poof.
Wow.
That quiet rest, where the situation still exists but the interpretive need to fix it or defend yourself has gone. That is the tranquil end of perception. The moment the dream of attack is carried to the truth, it gets dispelled.
The tranquility comes from realizing our value was never actually on the line in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
When we stop managing every perception and defending every imagined failure, that's when that sense of rightness, the Holy Spirit's presence, can kind of slip in.
That's the cessation of that internal management and effort.
And that profound rest makes paragraph 3's opening line even more significant. If you but knew how much your Father yearns to have you recognize your sinlessness.
That idea of God yearning for us, it's such a complete reframing of many traditional ideas, which often depict a righteous God maybe tolerating or judging sinners.
The word yearns carries such a deep, active, almost emotional weight. It suggests a state of separation isn't just accepted as a consequence of free will, but it's actively regretted by love itself. The Holy Spirit then becomes the tangible expression of that yearning. Love's immediate, compassionate response to our belief that we're lost. He's present because love couldn't stand the thought of its son believing in confusion.
It speaks to the absolute innocence of our creation. But we are so conditioned, aren't we, to believe that acceptance has to be earned through self-improvement or suffering or sacrifice.
Definitely.
So when faced with the Course's insistence on pure, unearned acceptance and sinlessness, we often panic a little. We've mistaken guilt for necessary responsibility. We think if we stop feeling guilty, we'll become lazy or chaotic or somehow morally bankrupt.
It's a deep mental block. We hold on to guilt because it feels like a motivator, maybe, or a protective shield.
Yeah.
If I accept I'm innocent, what's left to strive for?
Right.
If I accept that yearning from God, don't I lose the tension that's defined my life's efforts? It's that fear of a kind of terrifying freefall, losing the familiar structures of the ego.
I felt this intensely after finishing my master's thesis. It was a project that took nearly 2 years of obsessive, detailed work.
Oh, goodness.
The entire process was driven by fear. Fear of failure, fear of inadequate research, fear of criticism from the faculty. That fear and striving were the means of exile I had perfected. When I finally submitted it, there was a brief, sort of false sense of relief, followed by this profound emptiness. I felt compelled to immediately find the next big problem to solve, the next failure to preempt.
The striving habit kicked back in.
Immediately. And when the feedback came back, it was unqualified praise and acceptance. I felt genuine panic.
Panic at praise.
Yes. I realized I wasn't afraid of criticism. I was afraid of innocence. Innocence meant there was nothing left to defend, nothing left to fix, no reason left to strive. And the striving had defined my identity, given me a false sense of control.
So the Holy Spirit was inviting you into a space where striving was unnecessary.
Exactly. To simply rest in the acceptance that the work and I were complete and sufficient. And letting go of the need for the next problem that was much harder than writing the thesis itself.
Wow, that's quite an insight.
It meant accepting the Father's yearning for my sinlessness, letting go of the ego's insistence that I had to remain flawed to remain useful or driven.
That story also highlights almost the humor in the Holy Spirit's function, too. We use immense energy building these defensive walls, these complicated means of separation. And the Holy Spirit just converts them into pathways back home. The very mechanism we use for self-sabotage becomes the mechanism for healing.
It's ingenious in a way.
I found a similar pattern in something much less academic, but equally driven by ego for me, my exercise routine. For years, my commitment to the gym was a kind of wall built by the ego.
How so?
I used it for comparison, for pride, for a subtle judgment of others who were maybe less committed. It gave me a false sense of spiritual and physical strength, a specialness. It was a perfect means of exile.
Using physical discipline not for health or joy, but to prove separation and superiority.
That's the heart of specialness, isn't it? taking something neutral and assigning it the meaning of separation.
Yeah.
You're not just working out, you're actively confirming your exile.
Mm.
When I finally caught myself in that pattern and offered that whole mechanism, that whole way of thinking to the Holy Spirit, the external habit didn't stop. I still went to the gym.
But its purpose dissolved.
Exactly.
Oh.
I stopped comparing stats, stopped focusing on the most intense, grueling routines, and just focused on gratitude for movement, maintaining simple health. The wall built of pride was instantly converted into a doorway to enjoyment and peace.
The energy you were investing in confirming separation was repurposed toward accepting simplicity.
Yes.
And that is the translation process in motion. The
Yeah.
Holy Spirit takes whatever we hand him, the conflicts, the memory, the ambition, the defensive wall, and simply translates its meaning until only love remains. He doesn't demand we give up the activity or the relationship, usually, but only the fearful purpose we've assigned to it.
Which leads us beautifully to the final acceptance, the final paragraph. Accept your Father's gift. It is a call from love to love. This confirms the Holy Spirit isn't external to us. He's the internal communication system, the part of our mind that stayed whole and is constantly reaching out to the part of the mind that thinks it left.
It's such a comforting statement because it guarantees the success of the journey, doesn't it? We aren't climbing up some lonely mountain hoping to find God at the top.
No, it feels different.
We're realizing the connection was never actually severed. The Holy Spirit holds the memory of our wholeness, our sinlessness, until we are willing to accept it. It ensures that separation remains nothing more than a momentary passing dream.
So the ultimate synthesis of this essay seems to be that the Holy Spirit is using the entire dream, the sights, the sounds, the conflicts, the ambitions, to gently instruct us that we are, in fact, dreaming.
And the result of that instruction isn't meaninglessness or apathy. It's an absolute and profound gentleness toward ourselves and towards the world.
Every perceived attack becomes a reminder to activate the translator.
And every relationship becomes a potential classroom for remembering our shared identity. He is that patient bridge converting the raw data of perception into eternal knowing, making time itself a tool solely for healing the illusion of time.
The essay ends with that quite challenging question. Would you refuse to take the function of completing God when all he wills is that you be complete?
It's a big question.
It is. It's the final affirmation that our acceptance of the Holy Spirit's guidance isn't some selfish endeavor. Our completion, our remembering, is necessary for the seamless wholeness of all creation. By accepting his guidance, we fulfill our essential function in the great plan.
So we've now recognized the guy who walks with us, the one ensuring our journey is one of certainty, not doubt. And as we move into Lesson 281 next time, we transition from defining this.
And if the Holy Spirit truly employs the means we made for exile, what seemingly defensive mechanism or repetitive pattern in your life today might actually be your greatest undiscovered doorway home?
That's a good question to ponder.
That's the question we invite you to mull over this week. We would love to hear your experiences and insights. Our email address is acim@theworldharmonyproject.org, and you can find us on social media, TikTok and YouTube at The World Harmony Project.
Peace to you.
Peace to you.